What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch. A lot of stuff has happened here since we last spoke Friday of last week. Massive trades have happened. Some soccer has gone on. And there's a lot more to talk about, I guess, surrounding all those things. We'll even check in the MLB and see how things are going there. Follow us on all our social media at Your Sports Digest on Instagram, TikTok. Go to YouTube for us on the short content as well if you don't have those other platforms. And yoursportsdigest.com, there will be some more articles and stuff coming out in the next couple weeks regarding different sports, different things that are going on. So keep an eye out for all those things. But there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Today is a big day. I'm recording on Tuesday, July the 30th, which today is the first day of the moratorium for NBA free agency, which if you do not know necessarily what that means, essentially the NBA league year, I guess, starts on July 6th, which marks the calendar for 2026-2027 season. But they allow the impending free agents to negotiate, quote unquote, negotiate with teams starting July or June 30th at 6 Eastern time, which is called the quote-unquote tamping period, also known as the moratorium. So which is the time where you're going to see a lot of free agents start to move and have these different situations. Now, in the years past, there have been issues with players signing as soon as that time drops for free agency to technically start, and there's been tampering issues and tampering rules. So in the past recent years, teams have kind of calmed down on that front and maybe waited like an hour into that to make sure that they weren't in trouble. So it's going to be an interesting time to see what all goes down, but really what happens beforehand shapes what free agency is going to be like. And yesterday there was a massive trade, maybe not for some, but for me personally, and I think a lot of people that listen to this show are going to be affected by this trade that just happened. Ja Morant is finally on the move. He's heading to Portland. If you were able to follow any of my social medias, you were able to see my instant reaction upon that trade coming to light from Shams yesterday at around 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I guess. I don't even know, but it was a surreal moment seeing that. As I said in my video, my instant reaction, that when you draft Ja, you don't expect that one day you're going to have to trade him. You know, you're hoping forever he dons the Beale Street blue and never wavers his loyalty. And honestly, he never did. First of all, the trade, Ja Morant heading to the Portland Trail Blazers, of all teams, in exchange for Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray. We'll get to the return in just a minute, but let's talk real quick about Ja, because I know a majority of people that are listening to this know the situation or are Grizzly fans or whatnot. Ja means a lot to Memphis, and if there's one thing that Ja loved out of everything, he loved Memphis. You know, it didn't matter if he was on the Grizzlies. It didn't matter who his teammates were necessarily, what transactions took place, which coaches were calling the shots, who even could be working in the front office. No matter what, Ja was always loyal to Memphis itself. And for me, as someone who loves this city, lives in this city, has come back and embraced this place, there's nothing else that you could kind of ask for as a fan but for the players of your basketball team to embrace the culture and the city and just immerse themselves into the situation that they're in. There's been a lot of bad talk about the city and the team and, you know, why do we got to come to Memphis and play? Memphis should be moving to Nashville soon. Like, it shouldn't. Teams or players are not very happy with coming to Memphis, but every single player that comes here, except for like 3 total people in NBA history, have had great things to say, glowing things to say about Memphis. There's one thing about Memphis is that if you play on the Grizzlies, we're going to be loyal to you and we're going to ride for you. But the second you turn your back on the city, everyone hates you. So obviously, You come here and you put in an effort and you want to play, people are going to care about you. And Ja did that. He came in and embraced the city, showed love, and everybody in the city showed that exact same love back. You can question whatever it was, off the court antics that involved him, getting suspended, or his on the court unavailability that got to a tipping point for everyone involved. It seemed like this was the time to make the move as the Grizzlies transition into their next generation of players and next era of their team and organization, following the trading of Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. last trade deadline, and Desmond Bane last offseason, signaling the full rebuild. But honestly, if you look at this team on paper, it could be a little interesting. First, Ja going to the Blazers is interesting as well. I said it in my instant reaction. The Trailblazers have 4 point guards. They have Ja Morant. They traded for Jrue Holiday last season. They have Scoot Henderson, which they picked in the second overall pick the same year Wembanyama was drafted. And they also have, why am I blanking? Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard just came back and re-signed with the Portland Trailblazers. They said that Dame and Ja were going to play next to each other. Yeesh, that's interesting defensively. But now you have 4 point guards, including Shaedon Sharpe, who's another guard that plays the 1 and 2 sometimes. So that's another interesting. Caleb Love played a lot for them last year too. So you're really factoring in 5 or 6 different guards into this equation. And now you start to think, is Portland done? Are they going to go try to get Jaylen Brown? Are they going to try to snag Brandon Ingram in a 3-team trade? Who knows what they could be doing, but I don't really see a fit with everything, but I'm going to let Portland figure that out. That's not my problem. I'm glad Ja's going to be in a new place. He's going to find his new happiness again. He'll probably be able to play 70 games, and every Grizzlies fan is going to be pissed off about it. But as a Ja fan, I'm going to be happy for him. He's going to be in Oregon, where the Nike headquarters is. He's got the highest selling shoe in the game right now. Nobody's really talking about the fact that that's the connection there too. It's perfect for Ja. He gets to be there and promote the brand perfectly. So yeah, this will be interesting to see what Portland does. But as it pertains for the Grizzlies, I know a lot of people are wondering about that. Jeremy Grant, he's making $30 million the next 2 years. The next year he's got a player option. So is this somebody the Grizzlies decide, all right, we're gonna move him somewhere else. We're gonna steer him in a different direction to get him on a team that's going to contend as he's getting up there in age. I don't want to say he's old, but he's in his early to mid 30s now. So it's probably about time Jeremy Grant decides, like, I need to try to compete for a championship. So if the Grizzlies reroute him somewhere else, there's a chance that could take place. For Chris Murray, he was a former first-round pick, kind of has been a bench guy his entire career, never really broke out like his brother did. Twin brother is Keegan Murray on the Kings, both of them coming from Iowa. Chris was always the lesser of the two. I don't want to say that to put him down, but it is what it is. But I don't suspect him being on the roster come opening night. He's a $5 million player in his last year of his rookie contract, hitting restricted free agency next year. If the Grizzlies can move him somewhere else and get anything out of it, or just get him off the books or off the roster, that's fine. I could see them just outwardly releasing him. I don't see them having any tie to Chris Murray whatsoever, especially with your depth at your wing position now by getting Jeremy Grant. Now, I'm not going to tie myself down to Jeremy Grant and that he's going to be on this team, but if you look at it, Ty Jerome, Cedric Coward, Jeremy Grant, Cam Boozer, and Zach Edey, now that's a starting five that goes from rebuild to you could be a 10 or a 9 seed and sneak into the play in year one, depending on how everything goes. Because now your bench unit, Scottie Pippen Jr., Walter Clayton, Cam Spencer at your 3-point guards there. Jalen Wells is now coming off the bench, which is a great bench option for your team. Kareem Lopez, you just drafted. You have Santi Aldama. You traded for Isaiah Stewart. Like, this is now – Gigi Jackson just got his team option picked up. Now you have a little bit of a group here where it's like, okay – even if we go down, our depth is still there, and these guys can still play. You're not having to sign 10-day guys anymore. So if you keep Jeremy Grant, honestly, it's really not the worst situation. He's shot 39% from three the past 3 years of his career. Not the same defensive player as he once was, but can hold his own, has a good frame, good size, moves really well, super athletic, finishes above the rim as well. Just a good vet to have on the team. So I'm not going to tie myself down and get myself too excited about Jeremy Grant being on this team just in case he gets rerouted. But if that's an option they go with and decide, let's keep him here next year when he's expiring, we can move him. Honestly, I'm kind of for it. So this will be interesting to see what the Grizzlies do now with this and how Portland kind of shapes their roster around Ja Morant. But a bunch of other teams are starting to make moves as well, including the Phoenix Suns, who was another team that Ja Morant was linked to. They just traded for Miles Bridges over the weekend in exchange, or they traded Miles Bridges in a first-round pick in 2029 for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal. 2 second-round picks actually were going to Charlotte. 2 second-round picks are going to Phoenix as well with Miles Bridges. So those assets for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and a 2033 first-round pick. I don't really know what the Suns are doing with all of their assets. They got Dylan Brooks, Devin Booker, obviously. Jalen Green's now there. Miles Bridges added into the fold. And you re-sign Mark Williams. So that's your starting five. The lack of shooting is a question, the consistency from the three-point line, but they've got a good depth core as well from the bench. So this could be what Phoenix does. They could make another move, but if you're Charlotte, you get rid of an expiring deal. You have a good bench player like Grayson Allen who can come in and shoot the ball. Royce O'Neal's a good vet that also is a 3-and-D guy, and you added another first-round pick later, post whatever prime you're expecting from Concanepple. So good on Charlotte getting rid of the negative asset, which is Miles Bridges, who once again, we talk about guys like Ja Morant and being troublemakers. This guy was literally arrested and suspended the same amount of games for Ja Morant for hitting a woman, but that's neither here nor there. So good on Charlotte to get rid of the cancer and allow themselves to get more assets to make further moves and polish their roster exactly how they'd like. Some other different things happening. Teams are able to re-sign their own free agents. So we've seen different deals like Andrew Wiggins re-signing with the Miami Heat, which is a massive thing for them. 3-year, $64 million extension for Wiggins, who was traded over in the Jimmy Butler trade 2 seasons ago at the trade deadline. Good for Wiggins to be able to find a home and sign another contract extension. For this Miami Heat team that's going to need as many options around Giannis and Bam that they can with the money restrictions that they have. Expect to see them pretty active early on in free agency when it comes to sign-in trades with Norman Powell and maybe getting somebody back from that sign-in trade, or getting guys on the minimum who want to come there and try to win or revalue themselves. Maybe, I don't know if that was a word or not, but I just made it up if so. Other teams making deals, Kristaps Porzingis returning back to the Warriors, 2 years, $40 million. Now, this is an interesting thing that we're going to be able to pivot and talk about real quick with the Warriors. Draymond Green had a $20-something million player option that ended up being declined for him so that the Warriors can go and get somebody that they want. And that somebody is Anthony Davis. They're looking to try to trade with the Washington Wizards to get Anthony Davis to the Golden State Warriors. And you're probably wondering, okay, why are they trying to target a guy who's making $50 million now signing Kristaps Porzingis? That's two bigs. What are you trying to do with that? Well, if you sign and are able to trade for Anthony Davis, LeBron James will be coming to the Warriors on a smaller deal so that he can play with AD and he can play with Steph. And Draymond, I assume, would sign on a very, very small deal to return to the team as well so that he could be a part of that as well. I don't see Draymond being anywhere besides Golden State for the final few years of his career either. So the Warriors are really looking like they're going to try to push all in as much as they can for Steph Curry's final years of his career. LeBron's probably in the last year or two maybe. So him playing with Steph to round out his career could be something that a lot of NBA fans who are my age would like to see happen just for the fun of it. But even if that happens, I don't know if the team as a whole would be healthy. But there's something interesting there to look for and to pay attention about when it comes to the Warriors. So keep an eye out for all of that. James Harden declined his player option, looking to sign an extension with the Cavaliers. I don't know. That's not really a fit for me. But whatever, that's not my problem. I expect some more big trades. One of the big trades that could be happening, Kawhi Leonard, obviously is a two-time NBA champion, has won Finals MVP in 2 different locations, and one of those locations are looking to trade for him back in the Toronto Raptors. It seems like there's the end of the road for the Clippers. They're wanting to shift into a rebuild, a different style of basketball that let Paul George go and now has traded guys like Ivica Zubac to get Benedict Mathurin in. And now you're starting to build a little bit of a different team with Garland and now Keaton Wagler, Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, Yannick Koenig-Niederhauser. And then you start to accumulate a little bit more of these guys in these deals and in these trades, especially when you're shipping a guy like Kawhi Leonard out of town and getting assets back from Toronto like Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, Jonathan Mogbo, whoever it may be that's kind of put into this trade to make each side work. The players are reportedly agreed on. It's about draft capital now to see what the value is. So this trade seems inevitable today. By the time I put this out, there's a really good chance that he's already been traded. So for both sides, I love this. For Toronto, you get to go all in kind of with getting Kawhi in his final few years. He gets to probably end up retiring a Raptor, which he should have just re-signed there from the start instead of coming to LA. It kind of ruined everything there, but he gets to come back to Toronto, play alongside like Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley. So guys like that they're able to mold around their future with Kawhi Leonard to also push into the playoffs as well. And for the Clippers, you get Brandon Ingram, who I think he's on his last year of his deal or last 2 years of his deal. He's going to be a guy that goes to LA and is going to shine. He's going to be the number one guy on that team. Allows him to play with Garland. It's going to be a really interesting pairing with all the young guys as well. So I think it's a win-win trade for both sides, honestly, if you ask me. But something to keep an eye on as one of the big trades. And finally, for the NBA, one other thing to note, Jalen Duren, who is probably the best, one of the best guys on the open market come today at 5 Central Time, restricted free agent for the Detroit Pistons. Really, really just kind of turned on by the fans, I guess, at the end of the season for his bad play in the playoffs. He's not a shooter. He is your typical big body center, gonna set hard screens, roll to the basket, finish around the rim, connecting passer, good rebounder, decent defender, solid enough defender. So for them to not re-sign him is quite interesting. Apparently both sides are far apart on what the asking price is and what the Pistons are willing to give him. This is an all-NBA player. He's going to be able to capitalize on his value due to that clause in his contract now being a all-NBA player. And he's going to meet with the Sacramento Kings tonight, after the moratorium opens up. He's going to try to meet with them. That would be interesting because the Kings would have to do a sign-and trade with Detroit. Would that be for Zach LaVine? Or would it be a center-for-center deal and getting Domantas Sabonis over to the Pistons, which could be a little interesting as well. Same with Zach LaVine, but Sabonis could be something I never really factored in as that interesting. Now thinking about it, could be cool alongside Cade and those other guys. But Duren's also expected to have a meeting with the Lakers as well. That would also be extremely interesting to see. If Luka gets a guy like Jalen Duren on his team, watch out, because that gets really, really scary. So a lot of guys expected to hit free agency. A lot of guys have already resigned. But again, tonight at 5 Central Time, the NBA free agency tampering period opens. Nothing will become official until July 6th, but the teams are allowed to negotiate with the players that are on other teams and open market players as well. A lot of NBA there to cover at the front part, but there's something also exciting going on TV because when the NBA is done and over, you're waiting. A lot of people are waiting for football season. I understand and I get it. Not many people want to watch baseball. Basketball Summer League starts this upcoming weekend around the 4th of July. So you got a week to wait for that. So what are people going to watch right now? Well, I know not many people enjoy soccer in my circle. I've got a few that do, but there's nothing that's more exciting than watching the World Cup right now. Watching all those games yesterday on Monday, 3 shootouts, that is an incredible or was it? No, I think it was just 2 shootouts, right? Yeah, just 2 shootouts. I don't know why I said 3. But 3 games that went into the late stages where a goal was scored late. Like those are exciting games to watch. I got to watch the Brazil and Japan game. Brazil scored in like the 97th minute of that game and shocked, beating Japan. You then get to see Jesus. You get to see Germany and Paraguay, who, when the U.S. beat Paraguay 4-1 in the opening game, the entire world was like, "Oh, well, they get a cheapo group. They don't play teams that are good enough. They beat a Paraguay team that who even knows anybody on that team? Who cares?" Yeah, how about one of your favorites in Germany getting upset by Paraguay in penalties on the first knockout stage? So what does that mean for the U.S.? We'll get to that in a minute. And then the final game last night, Morocco upsets Netherlands, another team that was favored high to go deep into this tournament. They get knocked out by Morocco. So Paraguay, Morocco, Brazil all advance alongside Canada as well. Today there's going to be a couple good games as well. If we're talking on Tuesday's slate, Ivory Coast and Norway. So Eric Haaland gets to play, or Erling Haaland. Jesus, why did I say Eric Haaland? Erling Haaland gets to play in the knockout stage today. He's probably my favorite non-U.S. player at this point. France and Sweden play today. Obviously, France is one of the top 2 or 3 teams favorited, and Mexico and Ecuador play today as well. So those will all be some fun games to watch. But the one that we all care about the most in this country happens on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Fox. The United States head back to Santa Clara. Well, I guess they played in SoFi, the first one, so not heading back to – they head back to California. They play at Levi Stadium. We're the home of the 49ers. And the United States takes on Bosnia. Now, I think there's a little bit of a positivity boost for the U.S. seeing that Paraguay was able to upset Germany. And I guess the team can think of like, hey, look, if that is the type of team that we had to play that are beating other quality teams and we looked dominant against them, forget about it. Forget about it. Because like this is an interesting matchup going forward, because I hope that the U.S. wins this game. They should, we talked about on the last episode, this is the best matchup that they could have asked for in the first round of the knockout stages. But if they win this game, they're going to potentially have to match up against Belgium or Senegal. The winner of that game will play the winner of our game. And then after that, there's a chance that the U.S. meets up with either Spain or Portugal. So some good teams ahead. So if you can get this game out of the way and win in dominant fashion, then the U.S. should be able to move on and focus towards the next games. I assume that most players are going to be able to play, if not all of them. So I think after watching Germany go down last night, it gives me a little bit of hope that a team like the U.S., who are worldwide underdogs at the moment, but nationwide we have belief. I think that there's a case for the United States to be able to win this first game and take on Belgium or Senegal if they end up creating the upset, and walking into that game with confidence on their home turf at every game with the home crowd, and trying to make a run at it and get into the game against either Spain or Portugal, which could be interesting if you match up with Spain, who I think was the betting favorite at the start of the tournament, or you get to take on a guy in one of the greatest soccer players of all time in Cristiano Ronaldo. So interesting to see where the U.S. goes. But seriously, like I think overall I'm not a soccer guy. I also don't wake up at 8 o'clock on Sundays to watch the Premier League most of the time, to be honest with you. So it's kind of hard for me to watch, and I don't really care for MLS play. It's kind of it's just not my cup of tea, really. So for somebody who doesn't watch soccer religiously but keeps up with it and knows what's going on, this is so much fun, especially now where I think a lot of people complain about soccer and you can't, there's not going to be a winner. There's always going to be draws. You know, it's always going to be a low scoring game. But like when it comes to this, like even if you don't want to watch the first half, watch the second half at least, because if these teams are tied, it doesn't end in a draw. It goes to golden goal or it goes to penalties, or it just becomes a lot more fun to watch. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen here in the upcoming days, especially with the United States moving forward into the knockout rounds. So finally, the last thing we can talk about here before I get out of here. I know it's a Tuesday. It's a random day to do the episode, but I had an inkling about the trades that were going to go down yesterday, and I trusted my gut for once, and it finally ended up being right. Let's check in on the MLB and the standings, and because I know once this World Cup is over, then it's literally a dead zone where you're watching MLB waiting for football season, which I get. Again, I get it if nobody wants to watch the MLB. I get if nobody wants to watch baseball. It's hard for the common fan, so it's even harder for the people who don't watch it at all. But for guys like me who are 10 toes down on baseball, then you know I find it a lot of enjoyment watching these games. So let's talk about the division leaders first for the American League. Tampa Bay has gotten off to a hot start. Like this is the third time in the past 5 years where Tampa Bay has just gotten off to an incredible start. This is a team that was not supposed to do anything this year, was supposed to be a rebuilding team, and every single year Tampa finds a way to get this scrappy team together, put together some wins early, but eventually fall down and go back to mediocrity, being mediocre, whatever. So we'll see what happens there, but Tampa's leading in the American League East. The Chicago White Sox, who have embraced the full youth movement, and those young players have shined. They've had really good pitching so far. Sean Burke, Davis Martin. These are different guys that have come in here and really exceeded expectations for this Chicago White Sox rotation. And then in the lineup, you're putting young guys together like Chase Mydroth and Colson Montgomery, and Munetaka Murakami was amazing until he got hurt. He'll be back in the next couple weeks as well, so he's going to be able to be somebody that stands out for this team. And then they've put together guys like Miguel Vargas, who was kind of a pushover guy in a trade from the Dodgers a few years ago. He's been awesome. Kyle Teal's just coming back from injury. Braden Montgomery is now up with this team. Jacob Gonzalez is going to be a piece for this team going forward as well. Sam Antonocci is here as well. Like they put together these young guys that are scrappy hitters, power hitters, but young and exciting group for the Chicago White Sox that could be quite the tide changing for this team from the basement of basements in the American League to now being a division leader almost into the All-Star break. And then the AL West, the Texas Rangers, who they'll level out to their base level at some point. They've got some good pitching. Nathan Eovaldi has been okay. Jacob deGrom's been fine. Jack Leiter's been up and down. But you know, the hitting aspect, they traded for Brandon Nimmo. He's been solid. Wyatt Langford, when he's healthy, he's amazing. When he's hurt, and it hurts the team. Corey Seager's been battling some injuries. So team's been putting together some good wins and some good runs here. But ultimately, I don't think they're the best team in the American League West. I think that overall, they'll get lapped at some point. But outside of those division winners, the top wildcard teams right now are the New York Yankees, who are kind of scuffling a little bit, getting swept by the absolutely horrid Boston Red Sox. Legitimately the worst Boston Red Sox team I've ever seen in the 24 years of existence in my life. 2020 was a horrible team, but at least I got to watch Devers and JD Martinez and guys like that could play for that team, Bogarts. This team absolutely stinks and reeks of poo, but they came into the Fenway Park where they've been horrible this year and swept this absolutely garbage Yankees team in 4 games. They win last night against the Nationals as well and put on a 5-game win streak. Don't look now, but the Sox are starting to get a little bit hot. But the Yankees are in the wild card. They're scuffling a little bit. The Cleveland Guardians, they're always going to be in the picture. The Seattle Mariners are the other wild card team who have had the MVP runner-up last year and has been absolutely terrible for them this year as well. But the American League is just bad as a whole. Like, I think it might take 82 games that you win and you'll be in the wild card. Because right outside the Mariners, the Astros are there. They're not good. The Twins are battling. They're not good. The Blue Jays, who were in the World Series last year, they just can't put it together. They can't find wins. They weren't healthy at the beginning of the year, but now they're finally healthy and not that good. The Athletics, who have a young team but are battling injuries and pitching issues. The Orioles are trash. The Red Sox are bad. The Tigers have been horrible this year after being a breakout team. Tarek Skubal was hurt for a while. You'll have to check in on him. He might be a trade piece at the trade deadline going into his final year of the contract this year. And then the Angels and Royals have been really, really bad as well. So the American League is just a disaster. Every good teams in the National League. Don't even look towards the American League as something that you're going to enjoy watching baseball out of. But if we turn to the National League, the expected division winners or leaders right now, the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Braves, all really good teams, obviously, all 50-win teams. Nobody else or I guess the Braves are 49, but basically 50-win teams. There's nobody else in the American League that has above 48. So that should tell you something based on that alone. In the wild card, the Cubs, who were super, super hot and then went on a 10-game losing streak, are now 8-2 in their last 10. So they're back into the fold a little bit. They are completely ran dry in the pitching department. All their guys are getting hurt. All their guys are down. So they're starting to make moves to try to fill up the gaps in the pitching department. But the bats are going to come around as they expectedly would. The Phillies, who fired Rob Thompson in the first month and a half of the season, like a few weeks after Alex Cora was fired from the Red Sox, they fired Rob Thompson. Don Mattingly has taken over, and the Phillies have found a way to really start to surge up again, 7-3 in their last 10. They're starting to put things together. Brandon Marsh is having a breakout year finally. So I'm really excited to see what the Phillies are going to continue to do. Christopher Sanchez, who is lights out on the mound, has been bad the past few starts for him. So once he finds his footing again, he'll be really good. And then the final wildcard team, the St. Louis Cardinals, who weren't expected to do anything, are getting breakout years from Alec Burleson, Ivan Herrera, Jordan Walker. J.J. Weatherholt's been really solid for these guys as well. This is a team that, again, as I just said, not very highly ranked on people's boards going into the season. But overall, as the season has progressed, they've been able to withstand the tests of other teams. But it's the tightest race in the NL as well, because the Marlins are right on their tails. They had the best record in the month of June so far as we get to the end of the month. The Padres are on the heels as well. The Pirates are playing good ball. The Nationals are kind of scuffling, but they're pretty good offense on the road. They've been pretty decent overall this year. The Diamondbacks are kind of there. But then you go towards the basement with the Rockies, the Giants, who are looking to sell everything. And then the New York Mets, who just fired their manager the other day, Carlos Mendoza. So we'll see what happens there as well. They've got a lot of money tied down to players. We'll see if Steve Cohen can make some magic happen and get this team back to where they want to be. But that's checking in on the MLB. That's the standings. Heading into the final weeks before the All-Star break. I believe the All-Star break is in 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I believe. So we'll see how the MLB shakes out. There's going to be some more news to talk about with the MLB I know last episode I went on a rant about the lockout. Somebody gave me a nice comment about that and appreciated that. So that was cool to see that somebody listened all the way through to that point. But if you made it to this point, thank you so much for listening. Follow us on all the social medias at Your Sports Digest, yoursportsdigest.com. Share this with somebody that you know loves sports. Please, as much as you can, share this with anybody because I love doing this. I love talking about it. I've gained a new motivation again. I've kept the streak going for a while here. I'm putting out short form content. It's getting to a lot of interesting times here at the end of the season with basketball, or at the to the middle of the year where the basketball free agency is hitting. And summer league starting. Baseball is kind of in the mix of everything. Football season's right around the corner, both college and NFL. The World Cup is on, so it makes it even more interesting. So a lot of fun stuff in sports to be able to pay attention to. With that being said, that's all I've got for you this episode. I'm sure I'll check in with you guys on Friday at the end of the week or Thursday at the end of the week. We'll see at what point I end up recording. I'm going on vacation for the 4th, so I might record at some point. I might not. I might put out a reaction video for certain things that happen if need be. If so, you know where to find me. If not, I'll see you guys next time. Have a good rest of your week.